Hey everyone, hey Wellness Crew, and welcome to today's reading of Fragments of Light, Insights, Breakthroughs, and Epiphanies. Nothing to defend. Known to his followers as Maharaj Ji, Neem Karoli Baba was a Hindu guru and spiritual teacher who became internationally renowned in the 1960s. He died in 1973, and there are many stories told about him. In one story, one of his devotees was a scientist, and his best friend, who was also a scientist, was always teasing him, saying, why is such an intelligent man like you taken in by these guru frauds? With your scientific viewpoint, I just can't believe it." And the devotee just said, "Look, I don't try to convert you or anyone, so just leave it be." But his skeptical friend continued teasing him about it, as he just could not understand. Then one day, Neem Karoli Baba came to the city where the two friends lived, and as it happens, he was holding a meeting nearby. The devotee went to see him, and his friend went along too, to see the fraud for himself. He wanted to meet the man who had seemingly kidnapped the psyche of his great friend. When they arrived at the meeting, Neem Karoli Baba said to the skeptical friend, "Welcome. You forgot to wear your locket today. You must go and put it back on." The man was absolutely stunned. He turned to his friend, the devotee, and explained that the locket that Neem Karoli Baba was speaking of was given to him by the doctor who saved him 20 years ago when he had cancer. The doctor was a very special man, and he had told him to always wear the locket to remind him that he would always be well. He had indeed worn the locket every day of his life, until that very day when it turned out that he had left it in the bathroom. This was the only time he had ever forgotten to put it on. That was his introduction to Neem Karoli Baba, and from that moment on, he became his devotee too. We all know someone like that man. People who are skeptical, cynical, defensive, overly scientific, and overly materialistic, and they have forgotten a holistic view, which is understandable because of the nature of the world and how we are conditioned in this current age. The point of the story is that such people are just an inch away from being awakened by something happening that reminds them that there is more. However, it is not your job to convert such people in any way, and my recommendation is not to put yourself in a position where you need to be in any way defensive towards people who are skeptical about your path. You simply don't go there but say, "This is my way and it's part of who I am." Don't preach it and don't try to convert anyone. Instead, go the opposite way and move into small talk. This is the approach I take with people. Unless they directly ask me, I won't tell them what I really do or who I am. They have really got to want to know. Even if I tell them that I have written a book about philosophy and spirituality, if they drop the subject, I don't go any further. They have to really probe if they want to know more. They have to show that they are really interested. Then I open up, if they are willing to make the time and the space, which is rare in this day and age. Thank you so much for the like. I really appreciate that. I recommend that you play hard to get like that and do not feel in any way pressured around other people. Just enjoy their company as one human to another. You could buy them a drink or be generous in some way and extend some humanity towards them. Just listen to them. Listen to their story without the need for them to hear yours. Then you will gain their trust or not, but this is the approach I like. It makes your life simple. I have some wonderful Jehovah's Witnesses who come to talk to me. Some people have had a Jehovah's Witness come to their door at one time or another. I think they must be very lonely to keep going to the doors of strangers, but they feel that they have a message that they need to give to convert to others. They are very gentle in their approach, but still they approach. I am not exactly a Christian, but I am a follower and devotee of Christ, as well as many other teachers. So I am always very open to the Jehovah's Witnesses visiting, and I talk to them a little bit and try not to scare them off too much. They usually give me one of their pamphlets, which sometimes contain great value, and I always skim through and have a read. This is a nice quote I found in one of them, from the Bible, Psalm 37:10. Just a little while longer, and the wicked will be no more. You will look at where they were, and they will not be there. But the meek will possess the earth, and they will find exquisite delight in the abundance of peace. Wings of Liberation. One morning, an amazing thing happened when I went out to see the sunrise. I saw the connection between the animal kingdom, nature, our outer world, and us, and the connection between the codes of the matrix of life and our inner world, our inner nature. I was out walking in the meadows, where there are often many birds, and some seagulls came and started mewing and whirling around in the morning light. They often make a mewing sound in the mornings, and also a deep kind of laughing sound. I bowed in supplication to the sun, and started to walk home, when I noticed that one seagull was following me along the road. It flew with me all the way onto the village, and I wondered why. I seemed to be the only person up and about so early in the morning, so I walked into the car park by the local pub, which was quite a large, wide open space, and I just stood there. The gull started swirling around me, making its mewing sound, and suddenly it dived towards me and came right at me. I felt the exhilaration of the moment as the bird swooped past me and carried on whirling, rising and falling and turning in the sky while I stood there, turning and following it. It flew up and came back, then it came around and dived again. Every time it dived at me, I could hear the whoosh of the wind through its feathers, the quiet of the early morning amplifying the sound. It was just me and the gull in a dance for about 15 minutes. I was in a state of rapture. I saw the connection between the outer and the inner, and the power of a symbol when we allow it to move deep within us. The cry of the gull is the rapture of liberation, cutting free from the Maya, the illusion, and ascending into the inner skies of consciousness. The seagull represents liberation, the city of the 39th gene key. It is a vision of liberation, the great seabird soaring into the heavens, riding the thermals over the great oceans of life. We can often allow the sounds that interrupt our lives to irritate us, and I could easily have felt that morning that I just wanted a nice, quiet dawn. But if you let that sound in and allow it to percolate and be absorbed, then instead of being a sound that might irritate you, it can liberate you, giving you a rush, a feeling of awe, or a moment of transport. And it could be the same way with any sound, although particularly the sound of a bird or an animal, because they are communicating with us from inside us. Every creature is a programming chip within the matrix of the illusion in which we live. We are all pieces of a code, and they are a piece of code within a piece of code. There is a great dance here to enjoy the playfulness of the Tao, the unfurling of our evolution, our story, and our mythology, as we live and move and have our being in this world. Archetypal reality. When you hear the word archetype, you might wonder what it actually means. My view is that archetypes are a coalescence of the collective consciousness of humanity, of our thought patterns, our beliefs, and our ideals. To begin to understand how archetypes have meaning in our lives, you could look at the diagram of the different subtle bodies and their corresponding planes that make up our rainbow body, or aura. Starting with the physical or etheric body, and moving outwards, we have the astral or emotional body, and the astral plane, the mental body and the mental plane, the causal body and the causal plane, and then further out, the Buddhic, the atmic, and the monadic bodies and their planes. Of these, the causal plane is the domain of archetypes, where thought and feeling become one, as they are combined and transcended on the threshold of that plane. They lie beyond our feelings and desires and beyond our mind, although they interpenetrate both the emotional and the mental bodies. The world of thought, the mental body in its plane, lies just beyond the emotional body, which is reflected in the interconnection between the way you think and the way you feel. And although thought is generally seen as a subtle vibration, there are both denser and subtler thought patterns within the field of thought. Each frequency has a grading within the layers, and each layer has a threshold between it and the next. The rainbow body is explored more deeply within the set of teachings that I call the Corpus Christi, meaning literally the body of Christ. It is the science of our higher reality, a key to the true underlying nature of all human beings, and one of the journeys of the